Well, now let's return to Westminster and the war in Ukraine, which of course has stretched on into its third week. Andrew Bowie, Conservative MP, former Vice Chairman of the party, indeed a Royal Naval Reservist, is here with us. Firstly, your impression of the Prime Minister's meeting with those leaders of the Nordic countries, of the Balkans, today in London?
Yeah, I think it was very important and quite a substantive meeting. I think it demonstrated to the world that we stand with our Nordic and Baltic allies who see themselves very much on the front line against Russian aggression. It's very important because, of course, two of those Nordic countries, Sweden and Finland, are not within NATO. So it's very important that we send a signal to Vladimir Putin that they are as much of our allies and we will stand up for them as much as we would stand up for any NATO member, and that we will not allow Vladimir Putin to impose his will on the independent sovereign countries in that region. And I think it was very important that we invited them to London and that we sent the signal that we did today.
And, of course, President Zelensky spoke at that meeting as well, albeit virtually. He's someone who has not wavered in his call for further action, military action from NATO countries. The idea of a no-fly zone that NATO countries do not want to countenance for very understandable reasons. But the Ukrainians do still call for it. How do we balance those two demands?
God, Tom, of course they do. I mean, if we were in their situation, we'd be calling for that as well. But it's really important that we do everything possible not to escalate what is already a terrible conflict. And it would be an act of gross negligence if we were to start talking openly about imposing a no-fly zone over Ukraine.
Of course,
the
that's
very
something
idea
that,
of... Sorry, Tom.
Of course, that's something Nicola Sturgeon has entertained.
Which was, completely irresponsible and just frankly naive, as the Secretary of State for Scotland said last week. We cannot be in a place where NATO aircraft are in direct confrontation with Russian aircraft. That would take us to the brink of an all-out conflict with one of the most armed countries in the world, a country that is imposing its will militarily on a friendly neighbour right now. And if we were to escalate a conflict in that way, it could have devastating consequences, not just for the country of Ukraine, but for its neighbours and indeed for ourselves. So I think the position that we're in right now, supporting them militarily by supplying them with defensive weapons, supporting them with humanitarian aid. We're now the biggest bilateral donor the United Kingdom is. And, 88,000 people already opening up their homes to Ukrainian refugees. Everything that we are doing, and we were one of the first countries, actually, out of the traps to say this is going to happen and we're going to stand by the people of Ukraine. And we can be very proud of what we're doing. But imposing a no-fly zone would be a very serious step that would lead to an escalation. And that's something that none of us want.